In the earlier years of English League football, Sunderland Football Club was a true force to reckon with. They've won the league 6 times, once when it was just the Football League in 1892, and 5 times when it became the Football League First Division in 1893, 1895, 1902, 1913 and 1936. Since then, they remained regulars in the top flight, bar the occasional relegation. However, a sustained period of a decade in the Premier League between 2007 and 2017 came to an end when the club finished rock bottom in the standings. Fast forward to 2022 and the Black Cats are competing in League One, English Football League's 3rd tier. Despite that fact, only 6 clubs have managed more top-tier league titles than them. That list includes Arsenal, Manchester United, Liverpool, Everton, Aston Villa and Manchester City. All of these teams remain regular faces in the Premier League, and some have even gone on to become the best teams in the world at various points. So, what happened to Sunderland? Who or what dimmed the bulbs at the Stadium of Light? To provide context, let's go back to that Premier League return in 2006. Back in the big leagues. Following a couple of years yo-yoing between the 2nd tier and the top tier, Sunderland finally earned some stability at the end of the 06-07 season. The season had started with Niall Quinn as manager, and he was also the chairman of the club at the time, having brokered a deal to buy a controlling stake. Things got off to a bad start under Quinn, with 4 successive league defeats preceding getting knocked out of the League Cup by Bury. Luckily, Quinn recognised that things were not working out, so he decided to focus on his chairman duties and appoint a new manager, and in came Roy Keane. Keane brought immediate success by leading the team to promotion back to the Premier League and winning the award for Championship Manager of the Year in the process. They won 88 points from 46 games, which was enough for first place. Now back in the big time, Quinn immediately backed Roy Keane with transfer funds to sustain Sunderland's progress. Many new faces joined the club in the 07-08 season. Keane struck a €10.8 million deal for goalkeeper Craig Gordon from Hearts, €9 million for Kenway Jones from Southampton, and €8.2 million for Kieran Richardson from Manchester United. In total, the club signed up to 19 new players for a combined €64.3 million that year alone. On paper, it would seem like they should have made massive progress in terms of personnel, but Sunderland really struggled that year. The lowest point of the season came in a 7-1 defeat to Everton, but the team rallied together and managed to finish the season in 15th place. They signed 12 more new players in the 08-09 season, completing deals for Anton Ferdinand from West Ham for €10 million, and El Hadj Diouf from Bolton for €3.2 million. There were a couple of notable loan signings too, with Tal Ben Haim joining from Chelsea and Djibril Cissé from Marseille. It is often said that signing too many players can do more harm than good to the balance of a team, and that perspective proved to be the case with Keane's Sunderland team. By the end of November 2008, Sunderland was sitting in 18th place after a series of poor performances. As a result, Keane resigned as manager on the 4th of December, and he was replaced by Ricky Sprague. A season of change. Following Roy Keane's departure, Sunderland was led by more managers than seasons played in the rest of their time in the Premier League. Ricky Sprague only spent 5 months with the club, guiding them to 16th place and Premier League survival before resigning on May 24, 2009. Before the new season started, Irish-American businessman Ellis Short took over as the owner of the club, and Steve Bruce was announced as the new manager on June 3rd of the same year. It was a lot of change within a short period of time, but it did nothing to slow down the club's moves in the transfer market. They smashed their club record fee for a player twice that season. First with the €11.8 million signing of Darren Bent from Tottenham, and then with the signing of Michael Turner from Hull City for €13.6 million. Within a year, the record was broken again with the €16 million signing of Ghanaian international Asamoah Gyan from Stade Rennais in the 10-11 season. That year, Sunderland finished in 10th place in the Premier League under Steve Bruce. It was the highest finish that the club had achieved in the competition in 10 years, which suggested that there was some progress. In October of the new 11-12 season, Ellis Short took over from Quinn as chairman, while Quinn moved to a new role as the Director of International Development on behalf of Sunderland. A month later, Bruce, who had earlier received a lot of praise for changing the fortunes of the team, was dismissed for poor results that left the club in 16th place. Eric Black took over as caretaker manager, but he only oversaw one game before Martin O'Neill was brought in on a permanent contract as the new coach. What followed was a string of managerial hires, dismissals, and resignations as Sunderland consistently languished around the relegation places. Martin O'Neill, Paolo Di Canio and Gus Poyet were the next three managers after Steve Bruce, and they were all fired for performing below expectations. To be fair, Gus Poyet did lead Sunderland to the 2014 League Cup final, where they lost 3-1 to Manchester City, but it was not enough to keep him in the job. The next three managers after that were Dick Advocaat, Sam Allardyce and David Moyes. The club finished in 16th place under Advocaat in the 14-15 season and dropped one spot to 17th under Allardyce in the next season. Both managers resigned, and Allardyce was replaced with David Moyes ahead of the 16-17 season. Out of luck. Under David Moyes, Sunderland supporters endured the worst possible start to the season, winning just 2 points from the first 10 games. This was despite the fact that they'd invested about €40 million on new signings, most notably throwing €20 million at Lorient for the signing of Didier Ndong. The entire squad severely underperformed, so it was no surprise when they finished the season rock bottom of the league with only 24 points from 38 games. In hindsight, maybe they really were just not good enough. David Moyes resigned at the end of the season, and he was replaced by Simon Grayson. At this point, Ellis Short had begun to realise the folly of his approach to growing the profile of the club and trying to get them back to the glory days. He had invested so much in the signing of numerous new players, and only a couple of them had paid back the fees with their performances. Apart from the names already mentioned, Ricky Alvarez was another signing that did nothing for the club. He was signed for £10 million and played only 17 times for Sunderland, scoring 1 goal. Between the time of Keane's departure and Sunderland's eventual relegation from the Premier League, the club spent up to €340 million on new players, and all that investment only led to a regression in the quality of the squad. Relegation to the Championship was immediately followed by another relegation to League One, as the club continued to change managers every year in search of some form of progress. 12 managers have led the team between 2017 and 2022, although 6 of them have been caretaker managers in temporary roles. The lack of results on the pitch and severe deterioration of the club has expectedly impacted Short's purse, and Sunderland has regularly been selling some of their best players for profit in a bid to gather some much-needed revenue. However, it is a case of too little, too late, because they've fallen far behind the clubs that they used to compete with back in the top tier of the English League football pyramid. It's not as if they could continue throwing money away, even if they wanted to. With relegation to League One, Sunderland will face serious sanctions and point penalties if they take that route again. League One has strict rules that demand that participating clubs must not spend up to 60% of their revenue on player wages. For a club with a predicted turnover of less than £20 million in 2020, that makes the available wage cap fall below the £12 million mark, which is about £230,000 per week for the whole squad. There are more intricate details involved, but the general idea is that the sugar daddy approach is no longer an option for the Black Cats. Final words. History has proven that football shows no respect for big names and past success, and Sunderland is one of the better examples of that fact. Despite being champions of England 6 times and winning the much-coveted FA Cup twice, a series of bad financial decisions, particularly in the transfer market, easily turned the Stadium of Light into the Arena of Gloom. Throwing an obscene amount of money on new players does work at times, but not if the quality you're getting in return is mediocre. Anyway, it will be interesting to see if Sunderland can find a new approach that helps the club to find some path to recovery, however long that takes.